Thank you guys for joining. We're on the Thumos series, the fire in the belly, developing that godlike quality, that virtue, discipline. Alright, what it means to be disciplined. And today we're looking at integrity. I'm going to read to you a little bit. I'm going to call this what strengthens and weakens our integrity. Okay? So let's look at what integrity is first of all. It's a quality every man worth his salt aspires to. It encompasses many of the best and most admirable traits in a man. Honesty, uprightness, trustworthiness, fairness, loyalty, and the courage to keep one's word and one's promises, regardless of the consequences. The word integrity derives from the Latin for wholeness. So I never knew that, but integrity means wholeness. And it denotes a man who has successfully integrated all good virtues, who not only talks the talk, but walks the walk. While the foundation of integrity is having a firm moral code of right and wrong, it can also be enormously helpful, even crucial, to understand the psychological and environmental factors that can tempt us to stray from that code. What's at the root of our decisions to sometimes compromise our principles? What kinds of things lead us to be less honest, and what kinds of things help us to be more upright? So I really want to look at that. I want to, people say have integrity, to live the good life full of virtues. But I want to look at the science of what is said that can take us off that path. The environmental factors, the things within us, in our human nature that pull us away from this integrity, from this discipline. This is called, why do we compromise our integrity? Every day we are faced with little decisions that reflect on our integrity. What's okay to call a business expense or put on the company charge card? Is it really so bad to stretch the truth a little on your resume in order to land your dream job? Is it wrong to do a little casual flirting when your girlfriend isn't around? Yes. If you miss a lot of class, can you tell your professor a family member died? Is it bad to call in sick to work or to the social family function you're dreading when you're hungover? Is it okay to pirate movies or use ad block when surfing the web? So, all really basic things. I'm looking at some stuff I do that so petty, we ask ourselves, so simple. And that's what I want to get into. Alright. On one hand, we want to view ourselves as honest, honorable people. We want to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and feel good about ourselves. Psychologists call this ego motivation. On the other hand, we want to benefit from cheating and get as much money as possible. This is the standard financial motivation. Clearly, these two motivations are in conflict. How can we secure the benefits of cheating and at the same time still view ourselves as honest, wonderful people? And this is where our amazing cognitive flexibility comes into play. Thanks to this human skill, listen here, as long as we cheat by only a little bit, we can benefit from cheating and still view ourselves as marvelous human beings. This balancing act is the process of rationalization, and it is the basis of what we call this fudge factor theory. I'm going to explain this fudge factor theory. So, listen, as long as we cheat by only a little bit, we're able to rationalize, right? We become good at rationalizing that we're still this balancing act to view ourselves as marvelous human beings. This balancing act is a process of rationalization, and it is the basis of what we call the fudge factor theory. So let's look at what the fudge factor theory is. It explains how we decide where to draw the line between okay and not okay, between decisions that make us feel guilty and those we find a way to confidently justify. The more we're able to rationalize our decisions as morally acceptable, the wider this fudge factor margin becomes. And most of us are highly adept at it. Everyone else is doing it. This just levels the playing field. They're such a huge company that this won't affect them at all. They don't pay me enough anyway. He owes me this. She cheated on me once too. If I don't, my future will be ruined. Whether you draw the line and how wide you allow your fudge factor margin to become margin, not margarine. Your fudge factor margin to become is influenced by a variety of external and internal conditions. The most important one being this: simply taking a first, however small, dishonest step. So how wide are we going to allow this margin, this fudge factor margin, to become by taking one dishonest step? The first cut is the deepest, sliding down the pyramid of choice. Have you ever watched as the gross corruption of a once admired public figure was revealed, and wondered how he ever fell so far from grace? Dimes to donuts, he didn't wake up one day and decide to pocket $1 million that wasn't his. Instead, his journey to the dark side almost assuredly began with a seemingly small decision, something that seemed fairly inconsequential at the time, like fudging just a number or two on one of his accounts. But once the toes of his foot were in the door of dishonesty, his crimes very slowly got bigger and bigger. And mistakes were made, but not by me. Social psychologists Carol Tarvis and Elliot Aronson illustrate the way in which a single decision can greatly alter the path we take and the strength of our integrity. They used the example of two college students who find themselves struggling on an exam that will determine whether or not they get into graduate school. They are identical in terms of attitudes, abilities, and psychological health, and are reasonably honest and have the same middling attitude towards cheating. This is pretty fascinating study. Check it out. Both students are presented with the chance to see another student's answers, and both struggle with the temptation. But one decides to cheat and the other does not. Each gains something important, but at a cost. One gives up integrity for a good grade. The other gives up a good grade to preserve his integrity. What will each student think and tell himself as he reflects on his decision? As we explained in our series on personal responsibility, when you make a mistake or a choice that's out of line with your values, a gap opens up between your actual behavior and your self-image as a good, honest, competent person. Because of this gap, you experience cognitive dissonance. This cognitive dissonance, this gap, a kind of mental anxiety or discomfort. Since humans don't like this feeling of discomfort, our brains quickly work to bridge the divide between how we acted and our positive self-image by explaining away the behavior as really not so bad after all. Thus, the student who decided to cheat will soothe his conscience by telling himself things like, "I did know the answer. I just couldn't think of it at the time." Or, "Most of the other students cheated too." Or, "The test wasn't fair in the first place." The professor never said that subject was going to be covered. He'll find ways to frame his decision as no big deal. Now, the student who didn't cheat, while he won't experience the same kind of cognitive dissonance as his peer, will still wonder if he made the right choice, especially if he doesn't get a good grade. Feeling uncertain about a decision can cause some dissonance too. So this student will also seek to buttress the confidence he feels in his choice by reflecting on the wrongness of cheating and how good it feels to have a clear conscience. As each student reflects and justifies his choice, his attitude about cheating and his self-perception will subtly change. The student who cheated will loosen his stance about when cheating is okay, and feel that there's nothing wrong with being the kind of person who does it a little for a good reason. His ability to rationalize dishonest choices will go up, and so will his fudge factor margin. The student who maintained his integrity will feel more strongly than before that cheating is never acceptable, and his ability to rationalize dishonesty will go down, along with his personal fudge factor margin as well. To further decrease the ambiguity and increase the certainty each student feels about their divergent decisions, they will then each make more choices in line with these new stances. They travel down a pyramid of choice. Now, I know as I'm going along, you guys are listening to this integrity. And this is where I want to be careful, because even me reading this, it's almost like, am I being too nitpicky? Am I being too, that's petty, Elisha, that's petty, why? And that scares me that even enters my mind for a moment. Because I don't see how flawed I am as a human, how my mind tries to rationalize my wrong behavior, the simple things I do, taking something, overdoing it, taking from someone, just rationalizing that these things are okay, creating this gap, this cognitive dissonance, right? I know what's right, but yet I do it over here. I'm not congruent with my moral code. So, to be successful, guys, we can't have this gap. We can't have this chasm where this cognitive dissonance, we have to be congruent. Or people can see a man that has fallen so far from grace, so far from being in line. So let me explain here the pyramid of choice. This is the pyramid of choice. And we have two people, okay? This guy cheats on his test, and this guy doesn't cheat. So, by him cheating, he travels down the road of less integrity. By this guy sticking to his guns, to what he knows best, he has more integrity. Alright, it's very simple to understand. While the two students began in a very similar moral, ambiguous place, they have journeyed down what Tavers and Aronson call the pyramid of choice, and arrived at opposite corners of the base by one step, by opening the gap opens. Alright? It's not petty. It's not beyond you. This is truth. This is the progression that we don't think about. That needs to, the flaws in our life that we need to correct. Stuff that goes hidden. And now, okay, the guy who cheats, now we go to the what the hell factor, right? Rather than being two steadily widening lines, the paths that diverge from a single choice sometimes takes a course that looks more like this. So this guy traveled down the road of less integrity. It sometimes says that we just take a sharp turn towards the wrong path, down the path of less integrity, okay? And this is called the what the hell effect. So what's going on with that sharply diverging line on the left? It represents the moment where a person who makes a series of dishonest decisions reaches the what the hell point. Check it out. Here, this is easy to understand. The so-called what the hell effect, if you have ever been on a strict diet, this is how you understand it. Let's say you're eating a low-carb diet and you've been doing really well with it for a couple weeks. And I can attest to this. But now you're out to dinner with a friend and the waitress has placed a basket of warm, fragrant bread right in front of you. You keep fighting off the temptation and stick with your steak and broccoli. But damn, those rolls look good. You finally decide to just have one. You guys have all done this, man. Don't say you haven't. You finally decide to have one, which leads to another and then another. When your friend decides to have dessert and invites you to order one too, instead of getting over your slight lapse and regaining your fortitude, you think, what the hell? You make a sharp, well, his right turn, but you make a sharp turn, okay? So, you think, what the hell? I've already ruined my diet anyway. I'll start fresh tomorrow. You enjoy your pie and then have a bowl of ice cream when you get home as well in order to make the most of your ruined day before starting over in the morning. I have done this multiple times, and it's so true. He says like about having your pie and then going home and having the bowl of ice cream because you already like, oh, what the hell? I already cheated for the day. Why don't I go balls deep? Why don't I go all the way and just eat some ice cream when I get home? So, man, the floodgates open. And this has something to say about willpower. Remember, looking at willpower as being limited. Willpower is drained. The more temptation you fight off, you get drained. The willpower just drains and drains and drains. That's what we're looking at here. But what about with integrity? What about with taking that one step, okay? Taking that one step and then you hit that what the hell factor and you go completely off. This turn is so exaggerated. So the conclusion here, guys, once you commit one dishonest act, your moral standard loosen. Your self-perception as an honest person gets a little hazier. Your ability to rationalize goes up and your fudge factor margin increases. Where you draw the line between ethical and unethical, honest and dishonest moves outward. From his research, Elisha found that committing a dishonest act in one area of your life not only leads to more dishonesty in that one area, but ends up corrupting other areas of your life as well. A single act of dishonesty can change a person's behavior from that point onward. Wow. What this means is that if you want to maintain your integrity, the best thing you can do is to never take that first dishonest step. No matter how small and inconsequential a choice may seem at the time, it may start you down a path that tarnishes your moral compass. that leads you to commit more serious misdeeds and causes you to compromise your fundamental principles. Obviously, not everyone who makes one bad choice ends up morally depraved and utterly crooked. Many of us are able to make a single mistake or even several, but then get back on track again. This is because various conditions not only make it more or less likely that we'll make the first dishonest decision, but also increase or decrease our chances of turning ourselves around once we start down an unethical road. One of those conditions, the distance we feel between our actions and their consequences, is where we will turn to next. So guys, thank you for joining in. Just a quick summary. Hearing your blood song, right? In that video, hearing your blood song, letting the consciousness be fine-tuned, that we can hear it when we know that we have two choices. And seeing the importance now, okay, diving in a little deeper, seeing the importance of that first step of fighting the temptation, of staying whole. Okay, because the moment that we cheat, the moment that we do something to open up a gap and not be congruent, we start going down this road. And oftentimes we'll hit this what the hell effect, where we're just on a long road, totally so far here, the gap has grown wide that we can't seem to get back, right? We've had our fall from grace, our downfall. So there's many things in my life now that, even now, I say, that's so petty, do I need to worry about that? But that's for me to think on. That's for me to meditate on. Do I need to worry about opening this gap? My fudge factor margin. Because I want to have that godlike discipline. Because that's a huge key to my success, to your success. Pyramid of Choice, Thumos, Fire in the Belly series. Thank you guys for joining me. Please subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon.